Have you ever experienced a moment when the person who knows you best in the world becomes the very knife that stabs you the deepest? If you fight with a friend, you can just stop seeing them. If you break up with a lover, they become a stranger. But siblings are different. Simply because your blood is mixed, you are forced to be intertwined for a lifetime. But isn't it strange? You ate the same food and slept in the same room as children. So why do you suddenly realize one day as an adult, we've become worse than strangers? Today's story isn't just about personality clashes or money issues. It's about a very sophisticated and cruel psychological trap that your brain and your parents have designed without you even knowing. Why does a sibling who should be your strongest ally sometimes become the one name you want to erase from your life most? In fact, the tragedy of sibling relationships begins in a very primitive place. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, siblings are not comrades from birth, they are survival competitors. A parent's love, time, and economic resources are limited. For children, parental attention equals survival. Therefore, siblings instinctively adopt different strategies. If the firstborn is praised for doing well in school, the second child instinctively chooses a path other than academics, sports, art, or even becoming a troublemaker. That's the only way to get on the parental radar. The declaration, "I'm not like my brother," is actually a desperate survival instinct saying, "Please look at me." In this process, we don't grow up as beings who complement each other, but as beings who build walls to avoid encroaching on each other's territory. The problem is that even after we grow up and leave our parents' nest, these childhood roles are tattooed onto our bodies. You might be a successful 40-year-old professional now, but the moment you go back to your childhood home for a holiday and stand before your sibling, you revert to being a 7-year-old ball of inferiority. The reason a tiny comment from them makes your blood boil isn't that it attacks who you are now, it's because it accurately stabs the wound of the child still living in your heart. We know each other's most vulnerable points all too well. We instinctively know where to stab to hurt the most and what expression to make the other person feel most miserable. This is a truly terrifying weapon. No one else in the world can destroy you with such precision. When parents get involved, the situation becomes even more complex. Parents always say they love everyone equally, but that is practically impossible. Neuroscientifically, a parent's brain responds differently to each child. One child is pitiable because they resemble me, and another is hard to look at because they resemble me in ways I dislike. These microscopic differences create massive fissures between siblings. So-called favoritism is the most powerful fuel for sibling hatred. But the real tragedy here is that instead of resenting our parents, we pour that anger onto our siblings. Because parents are absolute figures who raised us, we dare not hate them, so we target the sibling we feel stole our share. The unconscious resentment of "I wasn't loved because of you" follows us for a lifetime. The decisive moment when siblings become worse than strangers in adulthood usually comes from a reversal of hierarchy or a collapse of expectations. When a brother who was smart as a child becomes incompetent as an adult, or a troublemaking younger sister suddenly achieves great success, the relationship fluctuates. We can celebrate a stranger's success, but we feel a strange sense of deprivation at a sibling's success. The moment you think, "Why them? They were supposed to be below me," blessing turns into envy. This isn't because you're a bad person, it's because the existence of a sibling is so strongly integrated with your own identity. This psychological error, where a sibling's success feels like your own failure, is what tortures us. Furthermore, once you get married and have a new family, the conflict reaches its peak. Now, the sibling relationship is no longer a one-on-one issue. It expands to an issue between households and a matter of a spouse's pride. The moment you think, "Why should my spouse be treated like that?" the sibling goes beyond being worse than a stranger and becomes an enemy. You sit and laugh together during holidays, but in your head, you're replaying the trash talk your spouse told you. When issues regarding parental support or inheritance explode, all the emotional filth that has been covered up for decades erupts. At that point, the fight isn't actually about money. It's about a decades-old emotional settlement that says, I'm the only one who sacrificed, or you were always selfish. In a strange way, the reason siblings become worse than strangers is also because we expected too much from each other. The trap of obviousness, thinking of course they'll understand because we're family, or they'll put up with it because they're my older brother, suffocates us. We skip the minimum etiquette we would show a friend. Rudeness is packaged as intimacy, and hurtful words are disguised as blunt advice. But remember, blood may be thicker than water, but blood stained with wounds is colder than water. The real reason we hate our siblings isn't that they are bad people, it's that we were as disappointed as we wanted to love them. Because the expectation was so high, the impact of the fall is equally great. In the end, there is only one way to escape this grueling cycle. It is to practice looking at your sibling as an independent human being outside the frame of family. The moment you acknowledge that you don't like them because they're your sibling, but simply because they are a person whose values don't align with yours, your heart becomes lighter. Let go of the obsession that we must be close because we're siblings. There are souls in this world that can never mix even if they share blood. Don't struggle to force an understanding. Sometimes keeping a proper distance is the greatest consideration for protecting each other. There's no need to blame yourself for becoming worse than strangers. It was likely an instinctive choice to protect your respective lives. Perhaps siblings are the most difficult homework of our lives, but you don't necessarily need to finish that homework with a perfect score. Just avoiding failure is enough. If you are suffering because of a sibling right now, it is proof that you were sincere about that relationship, that you wanted to be loved, and that you wanted to be recognized. Now turn that heart towards yourself, not the other person. You are no longer a child who must meet their expectations. You are a complete being in yourself. Tonight, I hope you can set down those names that weighed heavily on your heart and find peace. If this story resonated with you or made you rethink your own relationships, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the human mind. Share your thoughts in the comments. How has your relationship with your siblings changed over time? Your stories help others realize they're not alone. Whether you hate someone or miss someone, all those emotions will serve as milestones that help you understand yourself more deeply, because we are all intricately designed beings. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and take care of your internal world.